Pasi to announce the first keynote.
Okay. Today we have the first keynote by Andreas Riexinger from Bosch GmbH, and Andreas is heading the autonomous driving solutions in Bosch, and as a product manager, and he has been working in many areas in Robert Bosch company over 20 years, and is very experienced in different type of development of embedded software and management for IT projects. And since the foundation on Open ADX Eclipse Working Group in June 2019, he's also the speaker, and he has been very active in this working group. And today, Andreas will give an overview about future mobility and the role of open sourcing software. And now I will give the room for Andreas and stop sharing here.
Thanks for the introduction, Pasi. I'm happy to be here. So just a second to share my screen. So hopefully you can see it and you can hear me clear. So, okay, so hi everyone. Our world is changing and the change is visible everywhere. So cities are growing, more and more goods and people needs to be transported, bringing the traffic infrastructure, our environment and the pollution to its limits. A transformation of the mobility is needed, who has already started, powered by new technologies and services. So the mobility of the future will be electrified, connected, personalized, automated, and of course, software defined. So welcome to my talk about the mobility of the future and open collaboration. And is this a good idea? So Pasi did the introduction for me, so I'm just skipping that. So yeah, I'm Andy, working for Robert Bosch in the area of automated driving, and my job title is Business Development Manager for Open Source. And yeah, really cool. So what I want to talk a little bit about today is a short introduction into the Bosch Group, especially to the mobility section, where I am part of, and how we deal and how we see the mobility of the future. And therefore, I want to talk a little bit about the megatrends, the mobility solutions, what we have, and the software for the mobility of the future. So the Bosch Group has four main business sectors. One is the biggest one, the mobility solutions. We have industrial technologies with drive and control technologies, with packaging and process technologies. We have energy and building technology, one of the leading manufacturers of security and communication technology, and also of energy efficient heating products and hot water solutions. Most of you mainly, I guess, knows the consumer goods, where we have a lot of power tools and the so-called white appliances for the households, like dishwashers and so on. And the section mobility solution is working closely together with all divisions, so that we have the chance to use the synergies to have a valuable exchange and build new products and extend the knowledge. Some figures from last year about the Bosch Group. We had sales in billions of euros, 71.5, around about 400,000 of associates worldwide, 73,000 in engineering, 235 manufacturing locations, and 129 engineering locations. So this is for the complete Bosch Group. And the mobility solutions has a sales of 42.1 billions, nearly 230,000 associates, 58 therefore in engineering, 58,000, sorry, and 126 manufacturing locations and 68 engineering locations.
Our world is changing, and this change is visible across the globe. More than 50% of our population now lives in cities. These cities are growing, as is the share of older people in them, while space to live is becoming ever more precious. More and more goods and people need to be transported, pushing the traffic infrastructure to its limits and increasing pollution and noise levels. But the world is waking up. Regulations are calling for stricter limits and cleaner solutions. A transformation has started, powered by new technologies and services. In a world where everything is connected, mobility is being reimagined. Solutions like traffic management, combined with cleaner and more efficient powertrains and the benefits brought by automated driving, will make our cities sustainable and livable. Bosch is driving this change and shaping the future of mobility.
So with this video, you saw a bit of an impression how we want to deal with the current megatrends and where we want to go with our innovations, with our products we try or we are currently building. So for example, connectivity, our goal or our thought was by 2020 we had 50 billion things connected due to the fact of the urbanization. More than 50% of the world's populations lives in cities, and the number is growing. So most of the people over 65 are growing twice as fast as all other age groups. So therefore, we have to take care on the elder people, so to speak, and looking at the energy and climate. So therefore, yeah, you know it from the press and so on. We have to deal with that, and therefore we have a lot of things to consider, to do, to invent, and going forward to bring all that stuff to life. So we're looking here at our several sections we have. So as I mentioned, the future of mobility is personalized, it's automated, it's connected, and electrified and software-defined at the end. And therefore, we are on the way to use all that stuff, bringing things together to have at the end also not funny, but fun with our products, fascinating, impressive products, which are safe, which are comfortable, and of course, which have to be efficient and economical. So looking a bit on the personalized mobility, therefore we have some solutions for micromobility, some app-based mobility assistance, ride-sharing services, e-scooter sharing, and personalizable charging solutions, so that we make it more user-centric, more personalized, of course. Then looking to the automated mobility, so I'm coming from the automated section. Bosch is teaching the vehicle how to drive from overall level we have. For example, we have driver assistance systems. We are looking at the automated driving for potentially automated driving, highly automated driving, and at the end also fully automated driving. And maybe you know the automated parking. So we have therefore also two projects out there. One is in Stuttgart in the Mercedes-Benz Museum. One is at Stuttgart Airport, where together with the Daimler-Benz AG, where you have the chance to see these products or this product in action. So the future is also connected, and therefore we have a lot of connected services. The vehicle will be connected to the internet, the HMI solutions, connected mobility providers, and at the end, the vehicle systems will be also connected. So that will be a complete system, so that everything is connected with each other. Electrified mobility. Bosch is also energizing the powertrain. So therefore, we provide solutions for the powertrain systems, for the combustion engines, then hybrid systems, and of course, fully electric powertrain systems, not only for the car, also for some two-wheelers. And of course, you have to charge the batteries, and therefore there are also some solutions out there. So connected charging infrastructure and payment systems, therefore. So looking a bit deeper into the software. So software is more and more eating the car. Means you had a lot of easy use in the car, and therefore the software will also increase in therefore. So that the software-defined car describes a shift in the automotive industry away from the hardware-driven development, more in the direction of a software-centered approach. So in the past, you know that, of course, or I guess, the software in vehicles is a closed systems. Means when the car is in series production, means when you can buy it at a dealer, then software changes can only be made in the garage, at the workshop, within the OEM garage. And in the future, the customer benefit will be determined in over-the-air software functionalities that can be continuously updated, like Tesla do, for example, more than mechanical functions. And yeah, for example, you can update then infotainment functionalities. You can get security patches, or you can get new monitoring functions. Or what often is called out there, it's the shadowing mode, so that you can provide functionalities which are running with the car or in the car, but which are not really active, but you can check if this is working as intended. And therefore, the software-defined car project provides here a universal end-to-end software platform for a seamlessly connected vehicle to the cloud. And therefore, you have the whole ecosystem in there. So the term software-defined car describes a car containing some features and functionalities which are enabled by software, so that you come from the hardware-based more to a software-centric computing center on wheels. So as mentioned, vehicles today have often a lot more than 100 electronic control units, and every control unit is powered by some controllers, by some microprocessors, microcontrollers, and of course they are running with operating systems and with software. You have a growing number of sensors, cameras, radars, light detections, and a lot of more devices in the car which have to be connected, which brings you functionalities, information, which have to be processed. And therefore you will need, or you will have, more than 115 million lines of software code lines within one car. So what is the benefit of a software-defined car? So with a software-defined car, with the possibility to receive over-the-air updates, you can unlock new safety, comfort, and convenience features. So it means you can get the updates for security reasons, some new improvements, tuning of core functionalities, and so on. And yeah, you can also use the onboard sensors then for new functionalities and bring them in. And of course, this will also end in some new business models. So for example, you can get some extra power for track day, or remember, I guess it was, yeah, it was more a catastrophic use case with the hurricane, where Tesla allowed the people who hadn't Tesla or to have extra capacity in the battery. Or for example, maybe these are some stupid examples, that you have then heated seats for a skiing day when you drive to the Alps or somewhere else, or you have the extra range for longer trips. And you buy them as a pay-as-you-go model, for example. So, and to build a software functionality within a software-defined car, you need, of course, an efficient software development, that you have short development and deployment cycles. So in the current traditional software development area of the OEMs, the development cycles currently are not as fast as we need them for them, and therefore, we have to improve them. And typical options for software development is, you can develop software in-house across most or all domains. You can develop the software in-house for one or two differentiating domains and specify an outsourced development. Or you can outsource here some software development and keep feature specification, integration, and validation in-house. And outsourcing is also a kind, in other words, open source is also a kind of outsourcing, or you can start here in a collaboration way. So this is where open source can help you in all software development options. And maybe you noticed this as well, open source software has arrived in the automotive world. For example, there are some examples. Autonomy's future is open source. We have the Autoware Foundation, who provides a lot of functionality, simulation, and tools. Uber, providing here an autonomous vehicle visualization tool. Maybe you know Kala as an open source simulation engine with a 3D real engine. Then the Federal Highway Administration, US Department of Transportation, has also a project for cooperative driving. It's called Karma. LG is providing here for the ROS framework, who is also popular and with a wide usage within the autonomous driving development. They're providing a simulator for autonomous vehicles. Tesla published also some parts of their code for their Model X and Model S. Uber and GM Cruise, so it's the same, provides also some visualization tools for open source. Continental published their so-called eCal tool, enhanced communication abstract layer. Audi is also active in the open source area, means they provided here a driving data set. Here some machine learning libraries, and their so-called FEP, their functional engineering platform, which they use for model in the loop, software in the loop, hardware in the loop for testing. So we started OpenADX for building here the tool chain to make software development more efficient, to realize, for example, the software-defined car with the help of open source approaches. We started to build up the community in 2017. We announced at the Bosch Connected World in 2018 OpenADX, and in 2019 we become finally an official Eclipse working group, currently with 15 members. You can see it on the right bottom. And with the OpenADX community, we started to leverage with open source to increase the efficiency and create standards within the autonomous driving solution development. So why did we do that? Because we saw autonomous driving is a real multifaceted process, and you need a lot of tools for that. It's complex. And with the people on board you have as of today, it's hard to achieve all the goals. And maybe you know it also from your development career. So I started in 1997 with software development, and I saw there also the fact that you have for every discipline in the development toolchain or in the development workflow some best-in-class tools, but these tools were typically not designed to work with each other. And therefore, everyone has its own tool department to bring the tools together, and this costs the industry a lot of time and money. And this is the reason why we started with OpenADX, launched it in 2018. So we want to accelerate the time to market, share costs, and free up the resources to focus on the real customer needs by defining an industry-wide AD tool chain to ensure high interoperability between the tools, to provide an easy access, and to establish a base for a reference architecture. And we found, as mentioned, we are an Eclipse working group with the Eclipse Foundation, a real perfect host for that. So here a short view on our tool chain. So it's not 100% complete, but some typical steps you need for that. The color code for the boxes below are, you have a lot of vendors, many specialized tools. And if you look in the horizontal lines, you can imagine you have here the tool chains for different companies or for different departments within one company. And therefore we want, as we do not want to, sorry, I forgot that, as we do not focus on the one and only tool chain, because we know that's not possible, because the companies, the people are familiar with their tools, they are trained to use a special tool chain, and sometimes they have also some contracts over some years, and it's not easy to change that. This is the reason why we focus more on the tool interfaces, to make them interoperable, to give the chance to exchange several tools within the tool chain, to make here a complex tool landscape more accessible for the enterprise users. So this is the vision I have, and it goes hand in hand with the software-defined car. As I mentioned, I want to have the car connected to the cloud. So this is more a view on the development side. So for example, you have now a tool chain with OpenADX, but what do you want to do with a cool tool chain? Of course, you want to create some cool products. And therefore, in this example, because I'm coming from the automated section, we have here the hard software stack, but nevertheless, you can think, or you can produce more or less whatever software you want to in this case. So maybe you heard it as well. There are also some open hardware initiatives out there, with RISC-V, with the Open Hardware Group, which is also part of the Eclipse Foundation. Then there are also some open operating systems out there, like Zephyr. Then we have here an automotive middleware with one of our projects, Eclipse Isorix, and then on top of that, the software stack. From my point of view, the toolchain, of course, should be in the cloud, that you have an easy access. You will have there, or from my point of view, it's also necessary to have a marketplace out there that you can use the tools you want to, or the software stack parts you want to, and of course also vice versa, to provide the marketplace with your offers, with your tools, with your pieces of software. And of course, you will have more possibilities for high performance computing in the cloud, so that you can also easy scale up the infrastructure to get fast as possible here, and to run, for example, a lot of simulations in parallel, because typical validation mechanisms as we had in the past are not really feasible or possible anymore, because you have to drive transformed from the old mechanisms to the new ones. You have to drive billions of kilometers, and that's not possible. Therefore, you have to set more on the simulation parts. So at the end, you will shorten here the way between, or the path between the developer and the vehicle, the test vehicle, or at the end also the serious vehicle, to provide them over-the-air technologies with new functionalities, or with monitoring possibilities. So to sum up a bit, so open source software is gaining more and more traction in the automotive industry. It minimizes, of course, dependencies on suppliers. So this is often a real big goals of the OEMs. They won't have a vendor lock-in. It increases the quality through a broad testing reviews with the skilled attentions, with the broad expertises. Enables here the risk sharing and the cost reduction, because if more people works on the same stuff or on similar stuff, it's not necessary that everyone do the same stuff. You can work together. You can collaborate in area where you are not a real competitor to each other. So yeah, will save costs, of course, and it will be, of course, essential to the success of partnerships and consortia. So the future of mobility will be software defined. So this is, yeah, true. And open technologies, open source helps to collaborate here in a changing automotive market. And you are welcome to work with us here in the OpenADX working group to bring the things further. Or in general, not only in OpenADX, Eclipse Foundation provides also more automotive working groups. Come join us, work with us together and bringing the stuff forward. Thank you so much for having me. And if you have questions now, I'm open for questions now. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Andy.
You're welcome.
Pasi, we have a question.
Anyone have any question for?
Yeah, there is a question from Tero on the chat.
Okay, Tero.
Yeah, which of the OEMs are, in your view, in the kind of moving towards utilizing OpenADX, or is it the kind of going there right now?
So yeah, I guess you saw it on the member list. So there's currently no OEM on there. So we are working on that to bring them in. So the last year was really challenging for them. So we had some good talks, but they said, okay, let's wait a bit till we overcome here the hurdles due to the COVID situation, and let's talk together later on. You see also what on the market is going on. Everyone wants to provide his own .os, I will say, the VWOS, the MBOS, and so on. And they announced, everyone, we need 5,000 people for that. And I'm sure it's not possible to do that by their own. Of course, there are, from my point of view, a lot of parts which are not a unique selling point, which are not differentiating, and they have to work together. So what I also see, the automotive industry is not, it's more traditional in this area. And looking back some years, and you talk with them about open source, they say, no, go out of this room here. No open source, but the mind is changing. But it's still a long way. It's not the shortest way. But we are all on the right way. But it goes really little step by step. So currently we are talking more with I'm talking more with the German OEMs. Let's see what will came up there for, as well with the other German tier ones. If this answers your question.
Yes, it does. It was very interesting presentation. Maybe a brief follow-up. What do you think in China is this open approach going from forward there? Do you have any hunches about that? Yeah,
in China, there are also some activities like Baidu Apollo. So they started also with I would say with the Big Bang, and we're doing everything open, but from my view, it's not really successful. Means in the area of the open path. They have also commercial path. I guess that's more successful, but the open thing is not really there. So they are trying to do that. Maybe you see it also with Huawei as a strategic member at the Eclipse Foundation, also doing, maybe you saw it a bit on the Shanghai Motors. They announced also a lot of things. Maybe it will come in the future, but not really, as of today.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just maybe to complete the question, I was wondering who is driving mainly this open source approach? Is this something that you see as a worldwide, as you express a sort of, because you mentioned several organizations worldwide, or you think it's more coming from Europe, from US, from Asia? What in your point of view is the main driver of this open source approach in automotive and mobility?
So currently I see here some some spots. One is in the US, one is in Japan, one is in China, and then of course Europe. So I guess, yeah, it's also related to the legal part sometimes. You know it, looking back, why the Eclipse Foundation moved to Europe, because the German OEMs, for example, they do not want to have the legal ownership within the US. So now we have the situation a bit vice versa. So talking with some US companies, so now you are in Europe. Also not the best situation. I guess we are, speaking for myself, I'm trying to bring the things a bit together. So maybe you know it, no, of course you know it. We are in, we have in the Open ADX working group, we have the open robotics in there, so mainly seated in the US. We have the Autoware Foundation in there, mainly seated in Japan. So therefore, I have the hope to bring the things more together. But it's the same then for the OEMs. It's also a bit away, and yeah, step by step, we will bring that together somewhere in time.
Thank you, Andy.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? You have now a good opportunity to have a good answers from Andy. Please raise your hand or put your message to chat.
And of course, you have always the possibility to write me an email, to use Mattermost, the Open ADX channel, use my Twitter account. Yeah, of course. You can approach me on any way.
Personally, I'm very happy for this open source community work that is going on now, and I remember the time when we discussed in Bosch over 10 years ago about open source and possibilities, and not even in Bosch people were very much interested in that. Okay, Juha-Pekka Tolvanen.
Okay.
Hello, Andy. Here is Ahmed. Thank you for the presentation.
You're welcome.
Actually, my question here is that are you focusing here in the Open ADX and like making a standard for the interfaces between the component along the tool chain, or the focus is that to choose some components in this tool chain and implement it in like an open source software, and you know that this component, for example, is non-differentiating in the market. So where is exactly the focus here?
Okay, yeah, what I forget now, thank you for the question. What I forgot during my presentation, we are focusing not only on the open source tools, also commercial tools or proprietary tools are welcome. So looking, for example, to tool vendors, of course, their business model is to sell tools. And what we do not want is to break up their business model. The only thing we want to do with them is then to adapt, if necessary, the interfaces, that you have the possibility, for example, for simulation, that you can use Sumo for traffic simulation, that you can use Scala for other simulations, that you can use MATLAB or CarMaker as a commercial one for another view of the simulation parts, so that you can easily exchange the tools without having too much or a lot of overhead to bring the things together. So it's more in that direction. And where we find here some gaps, for example, that some tools are missing on the open source market, on the commercial market, then we want to close the gaps with open source tools at the end. But it's also still a long way. The vision is really, really big. And we have also to start a bit small. And of course, I would like to start, or we are starting with some open source tools. Currently, we have 3 on our lists. We are not only limited to open source tools, we have also some functionalities out there for the ECU, so to speak. We have Eclipse Isorix, we have Eclipse Cyclone DDS as an open source implementation of the OMG DDS standard. We have Eclipse Seno for vehicle-to-X communication. And these things, for example, are currently used within the Indy Autonomous Challenge. So means with this parts of the software, we will not only drive, maybe you know the shuttle projects who are driving with 20 or 30 miles per hour. No, we are driving now with 180 miles per hour. So in October, and that's really cool. Yeah, coming back to the tools, currently we have 3 tools in the queue or on the list. We have Eclipse Chloe as a simulation middleware. We have OpenMCX parts of the Model Connect framework from AVL. So they open source parts, or they will open source parts of their commercial tool. And we have App4MC in there as for timing simulation. And further tools will come. So currently we have in the queue for Docs as Code something, and we will build also, I guess it's after the summer break, starting with building up a demonstrator. So I hope this was not too much information and answers your question, Ahmed.
Yeah, sure. So the proof of concept you mentioned now, it's gonna be like demonstrate the whole end-to-end, right?
At the end, this is the big vision, yes, that we have a complete end-to-end tool chain. But to approach them, it's necessary to do that step by step with more steps.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
One question, Andy. Thanks for the talk.
Thank you.
You said software is eating the car, and OTA updates and connectivity everywhere. But I could imagine that the attack vector grows quite big with more and more software entering the car. But where do you see the the biggest challenges in terms of security in that regard? And what could be solutions, maybe?
For the security, I'm really convinced that open technology will the best for security, because you have here really short update cycles then. So security breaches will be detected earlier, and therefore I'm really convinced that for security the open technologies are the best ones. But of course, in the automotive industry, where you're talking about safety, about security, it's necessary to comply with that, to be compliant with that, to fulfill all the necessary requirements. But I'm sure that we will find some open source solutions in there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, do we have further questions? I think we already
have further questions. So if there's no further questions, I thank you, Andy, very much for your very interesting talk. And we have now a break, 10 minutes break, and we will continue in 10 minutes sharp. Thank you.
Thank you, Pasi.
Thanks a lot.